Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about digital forensics. Everybody's familiar with the idea of forensics. So many people watch CSI and shows like that, and they've got this idea of, going out there and grabbing DNA samples and analyzing it and things like that. Digital forensics is the digital side of this. It's the idea, well, it's the branch of forensic science that's kind of focused on the collection, examination, analysis, and the reporting on electronically stored and processed data. So it's going to include tasks like investigating digital crimes, identifying internal policy violations, recovering from system damage or loss, and reconstructing security incidents. So digital forensics, it's kind of wide. There's several sub branches. You've got computer forensics, you got network forensics, you've got database forensics, you got cloud forensics. You go real deep into each one of these fields because each one of these fields, there's a lot of technical aspects of it. So each of these sub branches are going to focus on investigating a specific electronic device or computing environment. So in digital forensics, you have different stages. You've got collection stage. That's where you're identifying, labeling, recording, and acquiring data from all your relevant data sources. You got the examination part. That's when you're processing collected data using a combination of automated and manual methods. Then you've got analysis, and that's when you're analyzing the results of the examination to derive useful information that addresses the questions that motivated the collection and examine of the data to begin with. And then lastly, you've got reporting. And reporting is going to be when you're reporting the results of the analysis, including describing the actions that you took, explaining how tools and procedures were selected. So you also have concept of digital evidence here. So what is digital evidence? Well, digital evidence is the electronic data of value to that's of value to an investigation that is stored on, processed, received, or transmitted by an electronic device. So digital evidence can be part of investigating any crime where crime relevant data is present in digital form. So this digital evidence, it's going to be presented in digital forensics reports. It's going to have timestamps in there. So the timestamps you're going to find all throughout here. You know, usually things are marked in GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. But you will most possibly have, for example, in Hawaii, we have a 10-hour offset from GMT. So so you should be aware of time offsets that you may find, when you're doing your calculations. So, Eastern Standard Time has an offset of 5 hours and minus 5 hours. Hawaii, like I mentioned before, has 10-hour difference. Things to keep in mind is, when you're dealing with digital forensics, physical devices and hardware components that contain the digital evidence, they're tagged, labeled, and photographed for forensics reports. So these reports have summaries of interviews conducted with involved parties, and they have, the stuff that's been collected. So things that are important when you're dealing with this type of evidence is number one is the chain of custody. Chain of custody is basically the tracking the movement of evidence through the system. It's very important to know, when was it ingested, when was it taken in, who's had access to it, at all times. So you can trace that from the time it enters to the time it's being used at trial. So you want to know specifically who's had access to it. So this chain of custody, it really speaks to the integrity of the evidence that you have. Another concept is that of provenance. And provenance is a record that describes the origin and historical information about a piece of data. So that's going to include information on the origin of the data, how the data has changed, how the data has moved over time. So you need to maintain accurate provenance to ensure that the evidence has credibility, authenticity, and integrity. So both the chain of custody and the provenance includes the documenting the history of evidence. But one difference is the chain of custody is mainly concerned with the physical handling of evidence in investigative settings, while the provenance side is used for establishing the complete history of that data. So that's it for this section. Oh, one last thing we want to talk about is legal holds. You may have heard of a legal hold before. That's the practice of ensuring that all forms of potentially relevant data to an anticipated litigation against an organization is identified and preserved. So usually you're going to have some kind of a notification that comes into the legal team saying, hey, hold on to all this information, blah, 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 that may be relevant to this case. And they will hold on to it. It basically says you can't destroy this because it could be evidence in an upcoming trial. So this is called a legal hold. So that's it for this section. Again, talk about digital forensics and what, the sub branches of it. And we talk about the collection, examination, analysis, and reporting. We talk about digital evidence. We talk about using timestamps and time offsets. We also talked about the chain of custody and provenance as well as legal holds. So that's it for this section. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Aloha.